Finishing up. So the last question, with people with illnesses who, like people who are aging, who are getting Alzheimer's, losing their cognitive ability, do they pass into the spirit world with that same impairment?
Yes, if we examine so-called age-onset disease, and all diseases of many types are all triggered or seem to be exacerbated by age. The reason why is that the longer we go denying the underlying soul-based emotion that exists, the more physical problems will be present in our bodies, both our spirit and physical bodies. Now, if one of the physical things that we are attempting to do with our soul, our emotions, is to not remember some of our life because we're ashamed of it, or we feel guilty about it, or we'd like to forget it because it was traumatic, then of course we have our emotion coming from our soul is forget this part, forget this part, forget this part. Now, the older we get, the easier it is to forget those parts often. And as a result, we go into this place where we're actually shutting down parts of our brain that would cause the memory of those particular parts of our life. And this is one of the main causes of things like Alzheimer's, a desire to forget certain parts of a person's life. Of course, God made us in such a way that we can't forget certain parts without forgetting whole parts of our life. And unfortunately, we don't have as good a selective ability to remember as what many people believe. And as a result of that, we often finish up shutting down a lot of our cognitive ability. That ability is all based around our brain and what our brain will do for us. As a result of these particular problems, we finish up developing a great distance between the true emotional condition that we have, our emotional memories, if you like, and what we would like to remember. Now, if we do that while we're on earth and then we pass, we will actually arrive in the spirit world in the same state of not wanting to remember our life.
But if you had a retarded cognitive ability, then you're not going to be able to work through these emotions, are you? If you
No, we need to go through this process of understanding that the retarded cognitive ability is not caused, in the case that we're bringing up here, is not created by anything other than the emotion. In other words, the emotion came first, and we don't need the ability to use our mind in order to feel an emotion. You look at a child, a 2-year-old child, which has very little intellectual capacity, is fully capable of experiencing emotion, right? And this is something that is a good thing about our life. If we remove cognitive ability, eventually the person starts becoming more emotional, which is actually the healing part of their cognitive ability. Does that make sense? And this is why many people who are aged go through many up and down emotions. And unfortunately, the medical profession, of course, tries to suppress that. But it's better to not suppress that if possible. It's better to allow this to occur, because this is a part of the natural way our soul heals itself. We need to understand that when we get to the point where we're no longer cognizant of what's happening in our life, and we have many different emotions fluctuating in the course of the day, these are our emotions that we should have been expressing before and have not been, which are the reason for our lack of cognitive ability. And if we let the emotions release, our cognitive ability would return. Right? The unfortunate thing of what we generally do, though, under these circumstances, is we medicate the person, we cause them to be in a stable place emotionally, which causes their ability to heal to be suppressed, and now they cannot be healed until they die. Once they die and they pass into the spirit world, there is no drugs that they can use to suppress their emotion. So now their emotions begin to flow. And these emotions are all going to contribute to the healing of their cognitive ability. Does that make sense? So the way God's designed the system is so that if we don't interfere with it too much, it naturally heals itself. The way we view things is we go, we want the person to be stable, and so we suppress the flow of emotion that seems to be extreme, And as a result of that, we suppress the ability to heal. And unfortunately, many people who have done that, who pass in a non-cognitive state, they arrive in the spirit world and they are overwhelmed with emotion, many of them, for many, many years, and then they start to have a remembrance of what happened as a result. And that is a part of the natural healing function of the soul. The soul is always going to be drawn to its natural state, which is to fully express its emotion. That's its natural state. The soul will always be drawn to that state. Whether we're interested in a relationship with God or not, we will be drawn to that state in the future. Now, if we're not interested in a relationship with God, we don't have anything driving it, so we might have a lot of resistance to it, but we will still be drawn to it. Sooner or later, the soul will draw us to this healing place where we have to feel emotion to heal.